Bodyguards and Close Protection. I'm going to be speaking today about this book, The Bullet Catchers by Tony Geraghty. I'm sure you've heard of the oldest profession, but this must be the second oldest profession. It's being a bodyguard to look after someone famous, someone important. When I think back, I think of the first time I can think about it is the Praetorian Guard with the Romans looking after Caesar. But I'm sure there was even bodyguards and people offering protection way longer than that. I've only really come into contact with bodyguards once in my life. It was, I'd say about almost 30 years ago now, 1994, in South Africa, in Durban. It was Mahatma Gandhi's 125th birthday anniversary. It was either being held at the Durban tourism place offices, or it was the Indian consulate. It was one or the other. We're doing a special event for this birthday commemoration, whatever, the 125. There was a special bronze bust that was being unveiled of Gandhi's head and shoulders. And I was there. I was doing my, I think, second year of studying to do sort of public relations and communications. We went along to this event to help out. At the time, politically wise, there was sort of three people who were sort of cut out to be the next, I want to say, prime ministers or presidents of the country. So it was F.W. de Klerk was the prime minister, the president, I think, at the time. There was Nelson Mandela, who was tipped to, I think, be the next president. And then there was someone else called Thabo Mbeki. And on this day, Thabo Mbeki came to unveil this bust of and commemorate Gandhi's life. It was quite an interesting event. It was a very new building. The floor below, there was nothing in. So I first came across these guys. They arrived. There was someone who came and did a sort of a pre-sweep, if you call it. They were just very, very professional. When the actual main team came up, I was really quite surprised. They all came up in one lift with a dog. The dog went absolutely everywhere, sniffed everything, just to make extra careful that nothing else was there. What really surprised me, these guys were very professional. They could crack a joke and have a laugh. Put everyone that was there at ease. But once the main guy arrived, everyone knew, don't make any sudden movements, so to speak. They were at every window, every door. I think I felt very safe. But it was just interesting to be around those people at that time. So much so, I then went to the library to find out a bit more about what these guys do, and I've got a funny feeling. I actually found this book in Durban's main library. So came across this book, The Bullet Catchers, Tony Geraghty. This book itself is based more from a UK perspective, but it's also, I think it's all around the world as well. So, the one thing that sticks out to me in this book, there's a number of different areas. The one was like the royal protection, so protecting the royals, looking at sort of politicians, diplomats, and then also celebrities. So there's a number of different things, and it basically again in this book they speak very matter of fact of what it is. This is the job, but this is what you need to do. A lot of the guys that are part of this, that do this, are normally ex-special forces or have quite a bit of knowledge of guns and soldiering. So that was also sort of a surprise, because when you see things on TV and you see all these courses that people are doing, there's a 3-day course or a 4-week course, you do get a bit confused about how safe you would be. One of the things that stood out to me in this book was really the section on assassins, on who those people are. You know, sometimes people are just wanting to attack someone because of their political beliefs or their religion, or you know, there's a number of different things. And it was just, for me, it was just quite interesting to read how these why these people would try and attack someone else. And yet there are people out there that will jump in front of someone else to literally catch that bullet. I think it can be quite difficult if you're working, especially on the celebrity side, to try and not get confused between the reality of looking after the person and the idea of you becoming part of the celebrity scene yourself. I think it can be quite a great thing people want to do, and easy to slip into. I think the thing is, you just need to be sort of really professional. That's what came across in this book. You have a job to do, you do the plan, and you execute it. I think this job is quite difficult. I don't expect people to be jumping out of the windows, you know, jumping in front of cars or throwing things at an event, or you know, shooting a gun. I think most of the time, I think it can be really and boring with nothing happening. Trying to prepare and make sure that where you're going with your principal, the main person you're looking after, that they are kept safe from harm. Well, I want to say as much as possible, but I suppose that's your job, just to try and keep them safe. Have seen a number of things on TV about it. The Bodyguard, and what's the other one called? I think it's called In the Line of Duty with Clint Eastwood. That was also a really good one. So it was almost like a cat and mouse between himself and John Malkovich. But there was something else. It was called The Bodyguards. It was a TV series. It was a UK security business that did it was a TV series, reality sort of thing, and it was on, I think it was called the Learning Channel. I will put a link below into the thing. There's something on YouTube about it, and it's about half an hour. It's absolutely fascinating for me. It was almost like a lead on from this book, because you read this book and then you see the guys training. The TV series itself was fascinating. I mean, they did weapons training. The guys hadn't been training for less than 10 minutes, and there was a negligent discharge. So basically that guy was straight off the course. That stood out for me. Just thinking, anyone can use a gun. You need to be very well trained. Especially with handguns. I don't like those things. But the other thing that stood out for me was they had this big mansion, which they were looking after the person, and they had this one scene where they had to go into the room. They were rushed, told them to go into the room. The principal was on the floor, had been shot or something, and there was bits hanging out in the sand. Go and help him. And they had a bad guy hiding behind the couch. So basically what would normally happen, you'd run in, I want to fix someone, I want to fix them, I see them, I run to them, I'm trying to fix them, and it's almost like a tunnel vision, and as you're in there, this other person would come up and fire the gun. And there was one or two people, I think there was one woman that said, I can't come in this room because I don't know if it's safe or not. What really stood out for me, it was like, in a time when you're in shock, stressed, that you can stop and think like that. It was just amazing. It's just being taught that stood out for me. So if you can, I would say have a look at the video. That should be pretty good to see. I enjoyed reading this book. It's not just the physical side of this profession, but a lot of it is psychological. Sort of understanding how people think. Again, it's like a cat and mouse of I think the person who is the bodyguard needs to be a lot more of a person who can read people, be able to go in and scan a room and pick things out, and then be able to spot people's behavior so that they can almost spot something's going to happen before it does. I think these guys are a very special type of person. This here is more like, it is more looking after a person, ensuring their safety, checking the route, making sure the route's safe, and then you really just don't know what you're going to come up against. I want to say it's quite rare that you're not going to come up against the hitman that's going to be shooting a sniper rifle or something from I don't know how far away. You don't know, but I suppose just trying to keep the person safe. In this profession, I think the public a lot of the time can get quite confused as to what exactly a bodyguard or a close protection person does. If you think about the different scenarios, for instance, with a politician, if they're becoming part of the government, I'm sure they will have close protection. If you're a high-powered businessman, you could also have protection, but then again, it's up to how many do you need. So I absolutely recommend this book. Please go and read it if you can. It might be a bit aged now, should we say. I read this in the 90s, and it was just a great book for me to see an insight into these guys' jobs, really. I mean, it's just the profession that they do. It's just absolutely amazing. So please subscribe if you want to find out more or follow along my journey of all the different books I've got and going through all the different reviews. Next week, I will be tackling, just have a quick look at my library. Next week, we'll be tackling the world of the FBI and the Behavioral Science Unit and catching serial killers.